Robert Kiyosaki wants us to know the difference between an asset and a liability. So given is the figure diagram, as you can see, is of income statement, which is also known as a profit loss statement, and the down one is a balance sheet, and balance sheet consists of assets and liabilities, whereas income statement shows how the money is coming in as income and how the money is going out as expenses. So in a balance sheet there are assets and liabilities. So what is the difference between the asset and a liability? You don't have to know anything more than the just a simple rule that the asset is something that puts money in my pocket and liability is something that takes the money out of my pocket. So that's a fundamental difference between asset and liability, which is not understood by a lot of people. Now we will discuss about the cash flow. Now we will discuss how the money flows from the assets and liabilities sections and into the income and expenses. Now we'll discuss about the cash flow pattern of an asset. So whenever there is an asset is something that gives money into your pocket. So whenever you have assets increases the sources of your income. That's why whenever you have an increased assets, you will have increased income. Whereas the cash flow pattern of a liability is liability is something that keeps your money out of your pocket. So whenever your liability is increased, you have increased expenses. Whenever you have to, when your liability is something that keeps money out of your pocket, so increasing your liability will increase your expenses. So whenever you know the basic fundamental difference between an asset and liability, it's very easy to point out why poor is poor, why middle class is also poor, and why rich are always getting rich and poor and middle class people are not getting rich. So in the case of cash flow pattern of a poor person has only one source of income, which is his job. So he receives salary from his job and he uses that money in the form of expenses like paying taxes, paying for rent, paying for food, paying for transportation, clothes, and so on. He does not have any assets. Assets is something that keeps money into your pocket. Since he is not able to expend his money in increasing in assets, whatever money comes as income will go out as expenses in the as shown in the figure. Now the cash flow pattern of a middle class family. A middle class family has a lot of liabilities. Liabilities is something that keeps money out of pocket. So people of the middle class people have many liabilities, like they have mortgages of houses to be paid, they have car loans, they have school loans, credit card payment. So these are the liabilities that he has to pay the money. So he has only one source of income, which is his job. He receives salary from his job, which is the only source of income, and that salary, the income, is used to pay for his liabilities, which cause him to pay money for the expenses like mortgage payment, taxes, car payment, school loans. And from this we can see that his money, which comes as income, as salary, is used to pay for the liabilities in form of various expenses. So he does not have enough assets. That's why he is not able to generate income from the assets. He has one source of income, and that income is used for paying a lot of liabilities, and he has got a lot of expenses for the payment of liabilities. And that's why whatever income comes, he has to pay the expenses for the liabilities. Now we will see the cash flow pattern of a rich person. A rich person does not have a fixed salary. He does not have a job which provides him salary, but he has got lots of assets. Assets is something that keeps money into your pocket. So various forms of assets, like he has got real estate, he's got stocks, bonds, fixed deposits, intellectual property like books, music, you can say about YouTube videos, e-books, and so on. And these assets will generate him income in the form of rental income, dividend from the stocks and bonds. He gets interest from the fixed deposits. He receives royalties from the intellectual property. So the assets generate uh, income for his further pay. So in case of rich person, the assets side is greater than the liabilities. So it generates, the more assets generates more income which will be able to pay for the expenses uh, like taxes and mortgage payment. His asset size is always greater than the liability size, so he does not get out of money. His expenses are less, and his expenses can be paid from his assets income. Now we will again see why the rich are getting richer again and again. So the rich people have more assets as compared to liabilities. They have less liabilities, and their assets generate enough income for his income, and this income will be able to pay for the expenses. So the leftover money from after cutting the expenses will be used to build even more assets. So he will be generating more and more income because he will be adding more and more assets in his portfolio. That's why he's getting richer, because his assets is increasing again and again, and his liabilities are less, and the income from the assets can easily pay for the expenses, and the leftover money can be used to generate even more assets, which will generate even more income. Now we'll discuss why the middle class are struggling. The middle class are struggling because they have lots of liabilities to be paid. Liabilities, the more the liabilities like house loans, car loans, these forms of liabilities increases the amount of expenses. He's not focusing his income from the assets. He's not keeping more money in building his assets. So whenever his income increases, his expenses will also increase, because he's increasing his liabilities as well. That's why, so whenever the money does not come from the asset side, his only expenses will increases. So whenever his expenses will increase, they have to struggle again and again for the money, because they have only one fixed source of income, and they are not able to generate enough assets to pay for the expenses. That's why they are struggling again and again. So the fundamental summary of this chapter is, you have to concentrate your effort and on buying income generating assets, and this is the only path to becoming rich. Keeping the liabilities or expenses down will help more money to be available to continue pouring into the asset column. So the summary once again: the rich buy assets, the poor only have expenses. The middle class buy liabilities, they think are assets. That's why they're also financially struggling. So Robert Kiyosaki has a definition of a wealth. Wealth is a person's ability to survive so many number of days forward, or if I stop working today, how long could I survive? This will be feasible only when you have enough assets which will generate enough income. That's the only reason, that's the only way to be rich and financially more sound. And this is the key theme of financial literacy. We have to know the differences between assets and liabilities, and this will help us to be financially sound and healthy. Thank you.